welcome. I would like to welcome you to episode 315 of the Unpopular Podcast. This is the man, the myth, the legend, Jalen Hunter. And here at the Unpopular Podcast, I'm not really asking you to agree with me. I'm asking you to hear me out. I dropped a episode the other day, or maybe last episode or last two episodes, I don't know. And I talked about Damian Lillard. And I talked about how I feel bad for Damian Lillard a lot of times because of how good he is, but I also understand that at least this iteration of Portland is not really going anywhere. Well, that's kind of been taken misconstrued. So that's where I'm going to start this episode off. Damian Lillard dropped 71 the other day. And Damian Lillard, in my opinion, is a top 10 point guard of all time. When we talk about, yes, there are more accomplished point guards. I mean, you know, there are more accomplished point guards, but I think with Damian Lillard's skill set, with how important he is to the league, with his shooting ability, with just the complete package, maybe outside of defense, Damian Lillard is a top 10 point guard of all time. I think that when we talk about shooters, you know, we always talk about Steph. We always talk about, you know, Clay, Ray Allen. I think that Damian Lillard's probably a top 5 to 8 shooter of all time. You know, we talk about Reggie Miller. He may even be better than Reggie Miller, honestly. When we talk about clutch shots, when we talk about from how deep he's shooting and just how he's able to get his shot off at any moment and how accurate it is, Damian Lillard is Damian Lillard. Like he is him. But and I will say congratulations for dropping 71 points. Like, I think we talk about the scoring boom and how this is one of the highest scoring seasons we've ever seen. We've seen multiple 50-point games. We've seen multiple 60-point games. This is the second 70-point game we've seen this year. Shouts out to Donovan Mitchell. He did a couple weeks ago. This is a scoring boom, yes, and I also understand. I mean, we just saw a game finish, and I think it was double overtime. It was 179 to like 170 or 176 to 174, something like that. This is the age of scoring. Damian Lillard has been placed in this best age for him possible because his scoring ability is better than. I kind of rival Damian Lillard's scoring like I look at Steph Curry at times. No, I'm not saying Damian Lillard is better than Steph Curry, but what I am saying is one of the biggest reasons, and it kind of goes to my point, my overall point, and why, yet again, I feel it doesn't feel good in a sense seeing Damian Lillard drop 71 points. And I say that it doesn't feel good in a sense because I look at a player as good as Damian Lillard. Now, I understand the whole super team thing. Super teams are, if there's multiple super teams, cool. But I don't want to build, I don't want to see a team that, like the Golden State Warriors, Kevin Durant Golden State Warriors, that was a time where, while basketball was fun and I love basketball, it was kind of like, all right, we know who's going to win it all. You know, I don't want that again. And I'm not even saying I want Damian Lillard on a super team, but what I'm saying is Damian Lillard just dropped 71 points. And his team is still under 500. And I fear that, and you know how people know how I feel about this whole loyalty thing in sports. I think it's BS. I like the fact of being loyal. Don't get me wrong. Like it's great, but a team will ship you out in a heartbeat. Like a team will get you out of here in a heartbeat. So a team isn't really loyal to you, but the whole loyalty thing is cool. Shouts out to you, Dame. But what I'm saying is, it just all I was watching. First of all, one of the biggest reasons why the Portland Trailblazers, who was going against the Houston Rockets, needed all 71 of those points. They didn't win by that much against the Rockets, which, by the way, is one of the worst defense in the league. Now, do not hear me say that and say I'm not taking away from 71 points. 71 points is incredible, like hell. And Damian Lillard is the third player, I think, in NBA history to score multiple 60-point games. I know, or multiple 60-point games in a season. I know it's Wilt Chamberlain, Kobe, and I think Dame. Not even Jordan did that. Not even LeBron, you know. So, congratulations to Damian Lillard again for dropping 71 points. But it's just, and the whole conversation. You know why the conversation of loyalty comes up every time we talk about Damian Lillard, or every time Damian Lillard does something like this? Is because people know that the team that he's on, even though you have Jaren Grant, the team that he's on has no chance of winning a championship. And I feel players that good, as good as hell. I just said I feel Damian Lillard is a top 10 point guard of all time. To be a top 10 point guard of all time and have absolutely no shot of winning a championship is crazy to me. Like don't get me wrong. Here we go. If we want to do this, let's look at the standings right now. Because the Portland Trailblazers are currently 11th. Looking at what we've seen this entire year, the only shot I give Portland doing anything is because they have Damian Lillard on this team. But if you think, I don't see Portland, if they were able to match up with these people, I don't see Portland going up beating a Denver, beating a Grizzlies, beating a Kings, beating a Suns, especially with KD now, beating the Clippers. I really don't see them beating the Mavericks, even though we'll talk about the Mavericks in a second. I don't see them beating Golden State. I can see them beating Utah. I don't know about Minnesota, especially with Karl Anthony Towns when he comes back. I don't know about the New Orleans Pelicans, especially with Zion coming back. Hell, we'll talk about the Lakers in a second, but I don't know if they'll beat. What I'm saying is this. I feel that a person as good as, I would love to see a person as good as Damian Lillard actually have a realistic shot of winning a championship, and I don't think he has that. And it's not because of him. Don't get me wrong. It's not because of him. Damian Lillard is one of the best players in the league. But it's crazy how you can be one of the best players in the league and have no shot. None. And this is even with the West being as wide open as it is. So congratulations again to Damian Lillard for dropping 71. Again, that's not a light stat. People just don't drop 71 every day. In fact, I think there's only been 5 people that's ever dropped more than 70 or 70 or more, which is Wilt, Kobe, Dame, Devin Booker, and Donovan Mitchell. So that is rare air to be in. So shouts out to Damian Lillard, man. Yeah, man. Shouts out to Damian Lillard, bro. Let's move forward. This next story kind of hits home for me. So don't be surprised if I give a little bit more energy to this next topic than I usually would. So Carson Wentz was 2 days ago, was released by Washington. That saves Washington like $26 million or whatever. You know, I remember when Washington got Carson Wentz. I said, well, no, I didn't want Carson Wentz on the team because I didn't think he had much left as far as goodness. I remember saying, who else were we going to get? We shot for Russell Wilson, didn't hit. I think we shot for Patrick Mahomes for what has been told, didn't hit. Shot for Aaron Rodgers, didn't hit. Hell, so it was really up to what? Carson Wentz and Jimmy Garoppolo. Nothing about what transpired last season or the season that just passed in Washington should have been surprising to anybody. Carson Wentz getting hurt. Carson Wentz not working out. Dysfunction all over the place, from the offensive coordinator to the head coach to, of course, ownership. We know about that. I feel two things with this Carson Wentz news. On one hand, I feel, I guess, relief, saying, it is what it is, it's Carson Wentz. And I'm glad we don't. He wasn't really doing much for us in the positive, and now Washington doesn't have to put up $26 million to a guy that probably not even going to start for us next year. But then the other hand, or the other feeling that I'm feeling is just like, this is the proof. This is the makings, or not the makings. This is the proof that you are dealing with a poverty franchise. And the proof is this. Everybody knew once you got Carson Wentz that it wasn't going to work. I guess everybody outside of Washington. No, I don't think that, I don't think that Taylor Heineke is the future. But when you have players, it's like, no, we want to play with Taylor Heineke. What I'm saying is this, man. Poverty franchise or franchises that make moves like this, that everyone around you knows that this is not going to work. Everyone knows. Everyone but you. I don't know what's next for Carson Wentz. I have absolutely no idea what's next for Carson Wentz. First and foremost, Carson Wentz scoffed and kind of balked at being from reports. I don't know him personally, but reports are saying that Carson Wentz was very reluctant and hesitant to the idea of coming off the bench. But not only coming off the bench, but I understand you don't want to pay that man as much, $26 million or whatever, to be a bench player. He's not Chase Daniels. Remember, Chase Daniels was making like more than there was a certain point where Chase Daniels was making like more than the starting quarterback. That's crazy. Man, it's so I don't know what's next for Carson Wentz. Maybe he can go to I don't know. There are multiple teams that need a starting quarterback, but do you think that Carson Wentz, at least right now, is a starting quarterback? Like, I know the Bucs need a starting quarterback. I know the Raiders need a starting quarterback. I know the 49ers probably need a starting quarterback, but do you trust Carson Wentz on being a starting quarterback? My answer is no. But my answer doesn't really matter in this sense. And man, Carson Wentz is out of here. One season in Washington. One season in Washington. If that doesn't, I mean, maybe he could. Maybe he could be a backup. I know, not Denver. What's the names? The Dolphins need a backup quarterback. I don't know. But it's just, and that's one of the. I also feel bad for Eric Bieniemy, man, because don't get me wrong, Sam Howell showed flashes in the preseason and of course the last game of the season against Dallas, but I mean, do you think Sam Howell is taking you to the promised land? That's pretty much what you have to ask yourself, and I don't believe so. But what do I know? I don't know. Shouts out to Washington for getting off Carson Wentz, and I guess we're gonna see what's next for Carson Wentz. I don't see him being a starting quarterback in the foreseeable future. But what do I know? Nothing. So let's move forward, man. Let's talk about LeBron, man. So LeBron James is out. And we're hearing multiple different reports. We're hearing some people say that the minimum is 2 to 3 weeks with an ankle injury. Some people saying that he more than likely could be out for the rest of the season. They were playing against Dallas. He felt a pop in his ankle. People are surprised and confused as to how he was able to play the rest of the game, which the Lakers did complete the largest comeback of the season, at least, being down 27 points and coming back and winning against Dallas. How he was able to play the rest of the game. And those people, I understand that they don't get what adrenaline does to people. For instance, I had a fractured ankle. I fractured my ankle. And while no, I am not a world-class athlete, I didn't do it while, being the face of the Lakers or the face of the NBA. I was able to play through a fractured ankle. Now, yes, the fractured ankle then turned to a break because I shouldn't have played, but adrenaline does that to you. So I understand, if LeBron James says he felt a pop, the adrenaline's kicking, you need this game. They, bada bing, bada boom. But now we are here. And LeBron James could miss a minimum of 2 to 3 weeks, which also reports are saying from credible people saying that he could miss the rest of the season, or at least the rest of the regular season. This is a huge blow for the Lakers. The Lakers look like they were turning the ship. You know what I mean? They had a big trade deadline. Pieces that they got for trade deadline: Jared Vanderbilt, Malik Beasley, D'Angelo Russell. They look like they were fitting. Now D'Angelo Russell was hurt as well, which this LeBron James injury now turns that injury makes that injury larger. But the question is, can the Lakers survive without LeBron James? And when I say survive, play themselves. I mean, right now, currently, they are in the 12th seed. They're trying to play themselves into a play-in or even as best as the playoffs. Here's the thing. In order to do that, in order to keep afloat, they have the easiest schedule down the road. However, coming up, they have some tough opponents. I mean, they have Memphis twice. They have Golden State. In order for the Lakers to keep afloat, we're going to need to see an Anthony Davis that we saw a glimpse of earlier this season. We're going to need to see a glimpse. We're going to need to see the Anthony Davis that people ask and people debate, is he better than Giannis Antetokounmpo? I know. Look, Anthony Davis, in my opinion, when he's at his best, is more skilled than Giannis. I just think Giannis has a motor, has a drive that Anthony Davis does not. But you have a superstar on the team. Anthony, don't get me wrong, skill set wise, maybe not in the sense of accomplishment or whatever, but intangibles wise or just skill wise, Anthony Davis is a superstar. And you have a superstar on this roster. I think we're going to need to see an Anthony Davis that was dominating. That, remember when he scored like 50, 59 or whatever, or 53 or something in Washington this year? Like, if we get that Anthony Davis, the Lakers are going to be okay. Again, I think Malik Beasley fits in really well, and he's been playing well. Vanderbilt has been like a godsend to the Lakers. Now, the injury to D'Angelo Russell now gets amplified because of the injury to LeBron James, because it takes yet another, floor operator or floor general off the floor. But I think we're really going to see what the Lakers are made of with this LeBron James. I don't know, man. It's tough. It's tough because we see how important LeBron James is to the Lakers. We also see Anthony Davis has been slumping. Like, he has been in a funk and a slump these past few weeks. Now, I don't know if that's going to change or get rectified with the LeBron James injury. And now, it kind of opens. You need Anthony Davis to be better. But I hear a lot of people say, can Anthony Davis lead you to a title? No. And I say that because we saw Anthony Davis, at least. I don't think there is not a solo act in this league that can lead you to a championship. Hell, we just talked about Dame at the top of the show. Dame is a perfect example of a solo act not being able to lead someone to a championship. Damian Lillard, again, is one of the best players in the league and is so far from a championship, it's not even funny. When you have teams like the Golden State Warriors, even though they're kind of, we don't know what the hell's going on with them, but you have that nucleus. When you talk about the Suns, when you talk about the Denver Nuggets, when you talk about the Grizzlies, hell, we can even go over to the East. When you talk about the Boston Celtics, when you talk about the Bucks, the Sixers, they have multiple people that can get it done for you. And while, yes, Malik Beasley is a good piece to the Lakers and Vanderbilt's a good piece to the Lakers, you need LeBron James. At least if you have championship. First of all, we're not really talking, we shouldn't be talking about championship right now. We're just talking about getting into the playoffs. The Lakers are the 12th seed. To get into the play-in, I think you need to be 10th to 7th or something. I think we're going to need to see the Anthony Davis that, the Lakers need and the Lakers expected to get this entire season. And again, we did see flashes of this Anthony Davis before he got hurt. Hell, I even put a video out saying Anthony Davis was balling because he were hooping because he was. Anthony Davis was looking like the Anthony Davis that gives some people, like, he was putting 50 birds, like, you know what I'm saying? But this LeBron, if you don't get the Anthony Davis that you need, or you get the Anthony Davis that we've seen these last few weeks, the season's done. And when I say season is done, there's absolutely no shot to do anything. Because the Anthony Davis that we've seen is not going to get it done. Especially, even though the West is wide open, it is still loaded. Hell, I didn't say nothing about the Clippers. Hell, they did come back and beat Dallas, but Dallas also was up 27 points. Minnesota, they're in the 9th spot right now. They Anthony Edwards, Towns coming back. Rudy Gobert's coming back. I don't know what we're going to get out the Lakers. I really don't. But I know this is really a defining moment, not only for Anthony Davis, but for this Lakers organization right now. LeBron James is out minimum 2 to 3 weeks. And you're fighting for your playoff lives. Well, let's see. Or you're fighting for your life to get into the playoffs, at least to play in. Let's see what's going to happen. And you have a player in Anthony Davis that can get you there. I'm not saying you have a player or a team that can win you a championship. What I'm saying is you have a player that can get you to at least the play-in with LeBron James being gone. Let's see what happens. Let's move forward. I am a very huge proponent of change at times. Needed change. Let me say that. I am a huge proponent of needed change. Some things just need changing. And I have also been very vocal when it comes to standing on the soapbox for the MLB needing change. The MLB, in my opinion, has just continued to be passed by other sports, NFL, basketball. I mean, you can argue. I mean, it's still quote unquote America's pastime, but even hockey is getting up there in popularity. I mean, you have 62 games, each one being 4 hours, pretty much. Nobody got time. Nobody wants to see that, especially if your team is not playoff or not good. However, the MLB has listened, I guess, and they made some changes. They've made a pitch clock, or they brought back a pitch clock. They have, I think, a mounds clock. Like you have 8 seconds to get ready, or it's like a strike or something. Now that has come. It's a different game at this point. I think the quickest preseason or off-season game, whatever you want to call it, has been like 2 hours and 7 minutes. Do you understand how incredible that is? Now, I know I'm not the biggest baseball fan. I know this, but a 2 hour game is a lot more tolerable than a 3.5, 4 hour game, especially game 75 of a 162 game season. There's a lot of people that are for shortening an NBA season. An NBA season is 82 games. What 82 games in the games are nowhere close to the length of a baseball game. Now we've had some pitchers and we've had some players that, of course, have struggled with the change or noticed the change a lot more than others. That's understandable. I mean, do you know how crazy it is to think that a baseball game is under 2.5 hours, 3 hours? I think this is good for baseball. I think baseball needs change, and I think that this is the first steps. Now, yes, they have introduced a pitch clock before. I don't know why it went away, but we're back. I think that this is exactly what baseball needs. I think that it needs a fresh start. I think that it needs the ability to draw in fans, and the way that it has been going about itself, the old-fashioned way, has not been drawing new fans. Like, think about it. I don't hear a lot of people. Now, don't get me wrong. I don't talk to everyone in the world. I'm not saying that my viewpoint is the end-all, be-all. But I don't see a lot of people jumping for joy to watch baseball like that. Now, yes, they are saying that, you go to a park, you go to a field, that it's different, it's a good experience, but you're going for the experience. You're not going for the game. In fact, the only time I really hear any excitement about baseball is if a player, i.e. Aaron Judge, is doing something, Shohei Ohtani's doing something, or they're in the playoff. They're in March. Or no. They're in October. So I think that while, yes, there are a lot of people that aren't happy about the pitch clock and aren't happy about the changes and how they're trying to speed up the game, I think that this is one step to really help baseball in more ways than one. You know what I mean? It's just, boy, again, 4-hour games is long, bruh. Long, again, 4-hour game for it to end like 1-2 is insane to me. And it's obviously insane to baseball because they're changing. So shouts, as a person that's very critical at times of baseball, I think that they've got it right. And I think that this is a really good step into improving the game that is baseball and improving the MLB and improving the watching experience. That where I think is where it suffers the most is the watching experience for the fan. And the fact that they're doing this, speeding up the game and making it faster, making it more understandable and more palatable for the consumer is great to me. So there's that, man. Let's move forward. Quinn Snyder is the new head coach for the Atlanta Hawks. I think the Atlanta Hawks, I said this when the whole Nate McMillan firing happened. The Atlanta Hawks are kind of in a mini reset. Now, usually if you want to do a full-blown reset, there are players that's going to have to go. I look at the Atlanta Hawks. They're currently 8th right now in the East. I think the Atlanta Hawks view themselves differently than what they really are. I don't think they have hindsight I don't think they have self-awareness of who they exactly are. First and foremost, I think that getting Dan Snyder was a good fit, even though I do think it's kind of crazy how fast Dan Snyder got the job compared to how, Nate McMillan getting fired. I'm not saying anything, but what I'm saying is Nate McMillan was fired on a Friday. It seems like Quinn Snyder got the job on a Sunday. That's all I'm saying. In Black History Month, too. That's all I'm saying. But I think the Atlanta Hawks view them, they don't really have the self-awareness that they should have. I understand that you have a young star in Trae Young. I also understand you have some really good pieces. You have DeJounte Murray that you got this offseason. You have John Collins, which, by the way, has been in the trade talk forever and looks like he's going to stay for a while. You have Clint Capella. Like, you have some good pieces. And while I have had my doubts and had my concerns and had my questions about does a DeJounte Murray, Trae Young team really work? Because while DeJounte Murray plays defense, Trae Young does not. And they both need the ball in their hands to be successful. And as we've seen this year, it hasn't really worked out the best. Now, this is what I mean when I say that I feel the Atlanta Hawks, right? The Atlanta Hawks do not have the self-awareness. I think the Atlanta Hawks, because they have a Trae Young like a DeJounte Murray, they look at themselves as a team that should be a top team in the East. I also look at, just a couple years ago, just maybe 2 or 3 years ago, they were in the Eastern Conference Finals. But let's be completely honest about the Atlanta Hawks here. There's no way, even coming into this season, there's no way that I would have put the Atlanta Hawks in the same category as the Milwaukee Bucks or the Boston Celtics or the Philadelphia 76ers or even a team like the Miami Heat or before KD and Kyrie left, the Brooklyn Nets. And honestly, when we look today, if this playoff started today and they got in, I wouldn't have them beating the Celtics. Or not Celtics. I wouldn't have them beating a Cleveland Cavaliers team or a New York Knicks team that has been a lot better than I thought. Shouts out to Jalen Brunson. So while, yes, I think that Quinn Snyder was a really good piece, what's really happening here? Like, do you think that with Quinn Snyder now here's something that I struggle with at times. When it comes to basketball, sometimes I can be very black and white when it comes to a team in their direction. And when I say I can be very black and white, I look at it as you're either a playoff team or you're either a championship caliber team or you're not. I understand that there's a gray area there, but it kind of feels like teams make moves kind of the way I see it is if you're a playoff team or you're not. And if you're not, for a lot of teams, they just go straight to tanking. Now, no, I don't think the Atlanta Hawks can tank, but I do think they need to switch the direction. Because with the team that they have, they are not winning anything. I saw a little article, not little, let me not disrespect the article. I saw the article like which team should be on the panic, and I agree with that argument. I agree with the argument. What the world? I agree with the article. The Atlanta Hawks, they should be panicking. Because even with Quinn Snyder, I don't see them making any noise in the Eastern Conference, which is the undoubtedly weaker conference. So I guess we'll see how it goes. You know what I mean? Let's move forward. LaMelo Ball is out for the season with a broke or fractured ankle. Now the Charlotte Hornets, they are 14th in the East, but LaMelo Ball has had a really good season and has been one of the best young players in the league. So it's very unfortunate that he is out. I wish nothing but a speedy recovery. Again, a fractured ankle that's months that you're going to be out because you have to let it heal and everything, depending on the severity of the fracture. It could be weeks, it could be months. I don't know, I don't think that this changes anything in the Eastern Conference, and I'm not putting all that on LaMelo, but he is one of the best young players, and he was having an incredible season. So it's unfortunate, and I wish nothing but a speedy recovery for LaMelo Ball. And lastly, before we go, so Jake Paul, I stayed away from talking about this on this platform, but we're here. Jake Paul fought Tommy Fury, which is the younger brother of Tyson Fury, who is a two-time world heavyweight champion in boxing. Jake Paul fought Tommy Fury and lost. This hands Jake Paul his first, I guess, professional loss. Here's why I think this is I'm not going to say the beginning of the end for Jake Paul. I mean, he did just win like 30 mil or whatever. I think that this is the this really shows you he's not really a legit boxer. Oh, no. Let me not say that because he beat me in the boxing ring. I tell you that. Jake Paul, this is why you should question his boxing legitimacy as far as a professional boxer. I think he has talent. Again, he's better than me in a boxing ring. I'm not here throwing dirt on Cuz's name. That's just not what we doing. But Jake Paul, and of course we all saw the interaction he had with Bomani Jones on his show. But Jake Paul has fought prior to Tommy Fury. He's fought nothing but retired MMA fighters and a basketball player. And that was his resume. And there was a lot of people that were questioning if Jake Paul is a legit fighter because he hasn't really fought a legit boxer. Well, his first go at it fighting a legit boxer, you lose. And the biggest, in my opinion, now yes, it was a split decision, but the biggest indictment on this loss is Tommy Fury didn't even look good. Tommy Fury looked slow while he was big. He just outlanded punches. Like he outpunched Jake Paul. Now, yes, there was a point where Jake Paul did knock Tommy Fury to the ground, but Tommy Fury got up and just started piecing Cuz. So there were questions about your legitimacy as a boxer. The one time that you fought a legit boxer that didn't really look good himself, you lose. I think that there's a lane for what Jake Paul does as far as, get entertaining fights, fight people that, maybe aren't legit fighters as far as boxers, but he has carved a lane out for himself. But I think this has answered a lot of questions, maybe in the worst way, about Jake Paul and his fighting ability. Because I always wondered that. I always wondered, all right, so you're claiming that you're a legit boxer and you're claiming that you're one of the top boxers in the world. Why don't you fight a legit boxer? And now we'll clearly see why. And now they're probably going to do a rematch, but the rematch is not going to get the same cachet that the first fight because, again, the aura and the allure of the Jake Paul experiment is over. Because you've seen Tommy, don't get me wrong, Tommy Fury is not a top boxer in the slightest. And Jake Paul had a time with this man to the point where he lost. So it's like, what are we doing? So I just think that was the worst case scenario. And there are some people that are saying it was a close fight, but there's a lot of people that are saying it wasn't. And if it wasn't for Tommy Fury getting knocked down, I think Jake Paul probably would have won just a round, maybe the first. So, I don't know what's next for Jake Paul. Again, I'm not saying it's over with for him. I'm just saying his fighting day or fighting real boxers or whatever may need to chill out. That's all I'm saying. So, I actually want to speak on this before we leave. I promise you guys, this is the last topic. So Deion Sanders came out and, there's a sound bite that's going around. Now, mind you, I didn't hear the entire interview. So this entire opinion is coming from the soundbite that has been going around. I will preface it by saying that I did not watch the entire interview. But there is a soundbite going around that I think Deion Sanders was on the Rich Eisman show, and Rich asked him about recruiting. And Deion Sanders went on to pretty much say, when they're looking for a quarterback, of course, they're looking for a standout person that has, a two-parent household, this, that, and the third. Has, 3.5 scholar, 3.5 grades, great. But when you're looking for like a defensive player, you want someone that's struggled. You want someone that has, maybe one parent has to struggle all their life, Here's the problem with that soundbite that's come out. That has been the stigma for since football and recruiting has really started. And that's why you see a lot of, how do I say this? I'm struggling to put this. I know what my thoughts are. My thoughts are very clear on it. I'm just struggling to put it into words. I'm not calling Deion Sanders racist. Do not hear me. I'll never call Deion Sanders racist. And I'm not saying he's coming from a racist place or a racial place. But the rhetoric that he spoke is from a racist mindset. I see a lot of people saying that, owners and colleges, that's how they base their recruiting, which is true. But there should be no question at this point why it's been harder for African Americans to succeed in the quarterback realm than it is for an African American to succeed as a defensive player or a wide receiver or a running back. Because what Deion Sanders was speaking to and what Deion Sanders spoke to was what owners and how owners view people or view athletes. Owners think that a person that comes from a single family household that has struggled growing up does not have the capabilities and the ability to be a quarterback. And again, I am not calling Deion Sanders racist in the slightest, but when you look statistically, who is the race that has statistically been in a single parent household that has struggled growing up? African Americans. Which is also why there has been a huge stigma as to why African Americans do not. I put out a clip about the Super Bowl and about Jalen Hurts going against Patrick Mahomes, and how I said that, or in that video, I expressed how refreshing it is to see two African American quarterbacks play football in the biggest game, which is the Super Bowl, and play at a high level, because of the stigma that has been put on African American quarterbacks. And what Deion Sanders spoke to is exactly why. what's I understand that some people are saying, well, there are African Americans that come from two family households. So he's not talking about white people. And I get that. That's why I'm not calling him racist. And that's why I'm not saying that he is coming from a racial place. But the rhetoric that he spoke, the origins of that rhetoric is a racial thing. And it's unfortunate that a man that is at the pinnacle, that has been at the pinnacle of football. When we talk about, there's not a lot of players, when we talk about the greatest players in NFL history, there's not a lot of players that we talk about before we get to Deion Sanders. Then we also understand, the change and the turnaround that Deion Sanders has made at Jackson State University, HBCU. So a man that comes from an HBCU and then understands just how, and as a black, that understands how tough it can be for African Americans, says this on a Caucasian platform, by the way. It's unfortunate, man. It's unfortunate because I hear a lot of people clapping and applauding what he said. And a lot of people that I hear clapping and applauding for it aren't African Americans. And I hear a lot of people that are upset about what he said. And unfortunately, the main people that are upset are African Americans, and we know why. But there you have it. That's been today's episode of the Unpopular Podcast. If you want a Popular Podcast shirt, hoodie, sweater, long sleeve joggers, the link is in the description below. I have multiple different colors, multiple different designs. Get your Unpopular Podcast merch today. Also, please subscribe to every listening. Please subscribe to every watching. Please subscribe to the social medias. All the links are in the description below. I appreciate all of you guys. I appreciate everyone that continues to support. Definitely means a lot to me. I appreciate everyone that's subscribing, man. It means a whole hell of a lot. But until next time, much love.